All right, Andy. The day before Election Day,
Yeah. Election Eve, I guess.
Election Eve. I don't know. I mean, we had this big surprise come out. I think I don't know, Andy. This like Epstein tapes or something like that. Like again, like I'll go back to what I said last week. Or like, is there anything that comes out about any of these candidates that you would be shocked about? I mean, I just don't feel like that. Anyway, so
Yeah. Here
I
we
had an up and down weekend though, Andy. I had Penn State started off my weekend with another downer
yeah.
disappointment.
And Jason Kelsey smashing a stupid fan's phone.
Yeah, well, don't call somebody like a don't call your like what just because you can doesn't mean like people
Yeah.
like
It's your fault, man. It's your
it's
fault.
your fault, man.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what do you expect? Like, hey, I'm gonna just talk shit about your brother,
Yeah.
and that'll be okay. It's good content for me, though. I'll have it on video,
Yeah. I'm
right?
gonna, I'm gonna put it on my Instagram. So there.
Yeah, yeah. So Kelsey had well, Penn State dropped theirs, but then South Carolina, and he came back on Saturday night and beat the top ranked or the 10th ranked team, Texas A&M. They dominated them. And I sat there and I was like, wow, South Carolina's got a lot of players. I sure wish Penn State would have had those same players because but Penn State is, 7-1, South Carolina is 5-3. You would think that I don't know who would win in that game. And then I go to Sunday, and I had no like belief that the Cowboys were actually going to win, and they did worse than I thought. And but hey, Andy, the owner of the team, the general manager, he knows what's in that locker room, and he knows they can do it. Look at the schedule. I don't think they get. I think they may get to 6 wins. May
Yeah.
get.
Yeah. It's not going to go well. I mean, the Cowboys really. And Dave, I mean, by the way, you called this early on. Like the Cowboys going to regret some of these early flubs. The New Orleans Saints really suck, and you guys
It's
lost to them.
by like 35 points, Andy. We
God,
like.
I mean, terrible.
All right. Well, let's get into our football like talk. We got to start with football, and then we're gonna go to politics. Got some fun for
Can we
politics.
just do football? Okay, is that an option or?
Well, let's see how far this timer takes us.
All right.
But Andy, like
Yeah,
everyone was like, why don't you think the Cowboys? Like I said from the beginning, Cowboys in January don't come to me until January when they're in playoffs. They're not even gonna make the playoffs now. Like there's no way.
yeah, you called it, man.
Um, but let's just run through the checklist. One, you have a coach that has had great regular seasons, but has fumbled the playoffs badly
Yeah,
in the last 2 years.
I love it.
You bring him back, Andy. You bring that person back. Okay.
We believe in Big Mike.
We believe in Big Mike. You bring that back. You have three of your top players. You get involved in contract disputes with the two of the three up into the last week of the preseason. You don't play any of those players during the preseason anyway. So
Yeah.
like what does preseason do? We've talked about that.
Yep.
You have no running backs, but you sign the former Cowboy Ezekiel Elliott as your big transaction. Other than um other than CD Lamb, which again contract dispute, you have no other wide receivers. Oh, Brandon Cooks, he's good. Yeah, yeah. Like maybe 5 years ago, he was a serviceable wide receiver. Now you no. So like all of these things conspired here, Andy, to just pull like the Mike McCarthy being 12 wins the last 3 years each year. It was a smoke show, Andy,
Yeah.
because there really isn't anything behind it. They just beat up on bad teams, and when they played good teams, they lost to them. And
Except,
so,
except the Lions, but we won't talk about that.
well, they should have lost that game, Andy. I mean,
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
mean, and this year, I mean, they have been embarrassed in all these games, Andy. I mean, it's bad. And now Dak is out. I don't know if that's good or bad. Just let's go for the draft pick at this point. But everyone was wondering why I was so down on the Cowboys. There it is, everyone.
Yeah.
Like that's our owner, that's our team.
Yeah.
So, but let's not talk about the Cowboys. Let's talk about your big win, Andy.
Talk about it. It was, I
You
mean,
went in Green Bay,
yeah.
shitty conditions, and you just pretty much dominated them. That was impressive.
I mean, again, like I'll be honest, I got bored. Like I honestly got bored watching the game. because it's like it wasn't that fun. Like the Eagles Jags game was much more exciting. Plus the Kelly green uniforms are so good. They're
Yeah.
so nice. But I mean, like Detroit's playing really good football. Like no matter what happens, they're just killing it, right? I mean, one, beat Jerry Jones on his birthday. Two, beat Matt LaFleur on his birthday. I love that, right? But then, I mean, like, yeah, I don't know if you saw the whole game, Dave. You know, the Brian Branch ejection was absolute bullshit. I believe the majority of the universe agrees with that. I posted on Threads, and people were in strong support that that was a terrible ejection. Some people disagreed, but those people are wrong. But the Lions just, I mean, they like played so good. The Packers are a good football team, you know, and it just wasn't a very close game at all. I mean, so I really have to commend the coaches and the players because, like, no matter what adversity comes at the Lions, they're just fighting through it, man. Lee McNeil getting pressure on Jordan Love, Kirby Joseph coming up with a huge pick. You know, it just all over the place. The Lions just played great football. It was awesome, Dave. I mean, so look, the Lions are 7-1 for the first time since Dave 1956. Dude, that's 20 years before I was in utero. That's insane. You know, so Lions are playing great football. And Dave, there's some other great football. Again, the Eagles 4-0 since Nick Sirianni shaved his head. I'm not saying that's the way to go, but 4-0, Dave. They beat the Jags, and there's some other pretty good football and some other pretty terrible football. But I mean, like Bryce Young, what do you think about that? Your little hometown QB playing some good football?
No, and like they played the Saints again, like
Yeah,
exposing the Saints. The Saints beat the Panthers by like 35 points too in the first week of the season, and then they lose this game here.
yeah,
Yeah, I want to go back to the Green Bay game real quick because Green Bay is down 23-3 or something, or 23-6 or something, whatever the score was.
yeah,
They have second and one from like the Detroit like 6 yard line or something. They've been running the ball like crazy, and they were successful running the ball. So what do? They get fancy. They try to call two pass plays, and then they get stuffed on fourth and one. Like what? Like Tom Brady, I thought did a pretty good job here. Like what are you doing? Like these are easy. Run up the middle, get your first down, have four fresh sets of downs, and score a touchdown. Then it's at least a game 23-13. You needed a touchdown there, and instead they came away with no points.
yeah,
Then you flip on the other side. I'll be critical of your Ben Johnson here. All they have to do is they've been running the ball really well too. And they try a fancy like double reverse play, lose 10 yards. And I'm like, what are we doing? Like just like I think coaches sometimes are trying to be too tricky
yeah,
and they forget like the things. I'll go to this Penn State game the Penn State needed a touchdown. They're down 20-13, 5 minutes left to go in the game. They're not going to probably get the ball back. First and goal from the 3 yard line, three straight plays right up the middle. Like,
yeah,
like no, like Penn State had been like had the offense corner, all this creativity. I think, and then fourth and goal, then they throw a shitty pass. Like I think these coaches like are just overthink and try to do I think the coaching sucks, frankly, in a lot of places. Raw talent wins out more than coaching schemes do sometimes. It's frustrating to watch sometimes.
I mean, you know, Ben Johnson does like to get tricky. He's been doing it all season. I'm not going to give him any grief about it. You know, roll the dice. You're doing well. I don't mind him taking that chance. But you know, you want to win games on the hard nose, punch you in the mouth kind of plays. You want to really be able to dominate because free plays only get you so far. But there's a time for him. You know, there's time for him. And when they work, they're glorious, you know. But when they don't work, you're like, what the hell were you just doing? So, you know, there's a couple teams, Dave, that probably could have used some trick plays yesterday. I mean, there's some bad football, but there's some good football too. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, the Cardinals doing well against the Bears. I appreciated that win. Did you care about this Sunday night game? I thought maybe that was America's least interesting Sunday night game all season.
Yeah, Minnesota. I mean, Minnesota won it, but like, yeah, exactly. I think I don't think I watched three plays on that game.
Yeah.
So,
It,
but yeah, look, Andy, there's a quarter of the teams in the NFL right now that only have two wins.
yeah.
They're either 2-6 or 2-7. And then you have the Cowboys who somehow got the three wins. I tell you, San Francisco, like the Steelers are going to go back and like, how did we lose this game to the fucking Cowboys?
Yeah.
That's pretty bad. So Um, so we'll see how the season comes up. We've got a good game on Thursday this week, Andy. Assuming the U.S. isn't in a civil war Thursday because of election results or something. But we got Cincinnati versus Baltimore. That's going to be a really good game.
Yeah,
So,
it's good, right? But yes, that will be a good game. I just gotta say before we break for doing the next segment, like, did you see the Saquon Barkley run?
the guy's crazy.
That was insane.
And the Giants just said, "Hey, we're okay letting you go."
We're gonna stick with Danny Dimes. You
Yeah,
go find a new home, Saquon. Like, God, like, just invest in a line and give this guy some room. He's what a steal for the Eagles. He's awesome. Like, he
yeah.
is awesome.
He's awesome, and Derrick Henry has been awesome. He's over a
Yeah,
thousand yards already.
yeah.
Again, the Cowboys said, "I don't think he would be good in our offense." Yeah,
Doesn't fit.
no shit.
Not a fit.
Yeah, no shit. We'll be happy with Ezekiel Elliott. Yeah,
Yeah,
that sounds great. Yeah, that
yeah.
sounds great. All right, Andy, let's go to politics. This is probably take the rest of the pod here, Andy. I don't want to do it to you, but we could go through. We're the day before the election,
Yeah,
Andy.
yeah.
I can't remember. Did you vote? Did you vote
No,
already?
my oldest son is his first time voting in a presidential election, so we're going to go together on election day, cast our ballots, and be Americans.
There you go. You can wear your sticker with pride and everything.
Yeah,
And Andy, I found this interesting when I went in to do my vote this year. Is you used to have like the polling places, and it was only your area or whatever um, your respective like community or whatever. Um, I went in to this polling place when I did my early voting a couple weeks back. And you select it like it's a culmination of all these polling places into one now. It's like a super polling place, I guess. So you're still kind of registered by your like location, but you had to select that or whatever. So it's kind of fun. I thought that was interesting.
I haven't experienced that, so that'll be part of my election day experience. So I'm
Yeah,
looking
it
forward.
may be different in Virginia. North Carolina's a little bit off. So, Andy, we got seven key battleground states, right? So
Yep.
that's going to be an important part. The polls keep going back and forth. It's all within the margin of error, Andy.
Yeah,
So, like,
exactly.
can you really believe if like one person's up 1 point, it's within the margin of error? And then we talked about polling, whether people are actually doing it, you know, what they're saying in those
Yeah,
responses or not.
yeah.
Any lingering thoughts before we get into our little questionnaire thing here, Andy?
Let's get into it. I wrote about my thoughts yesterday. I haven't written in a couple weeks. It's travel and chaos time wise, but so I'm prepared for the White House discussion, and we'll see where it goes with everything else.
Okay, so I gave you questions 1 through 5, and then I had a bonus question,
Yeah.
whatever, Andy. I'm gonna hold number one until the end because that's like who will win. But let's start with the Senate, Andy.
Okay.
Um, we're going to do predictions, right? So
Yeah.
we'll do a couple questions and we'll do predictions, what we think is going to happen. I don't expect you to know these races, Andy, but let's just have fun with it and see where we wind up or what. All right, so who's going to win the majority? Right now, the Republicans need to win 13 seats
Yeah.
that are up this year, or 12 seats and the presidency in order to claim the majority. So does that make sense? They
Yeah.
have to get to 50, and then if you have the presidency, the vice president's the tiebreaker. It's all civics 101, right? Um, right now, Republicans are favored to win 13 seats, while the Democrats are favored to win 20. One seat remains in a toss-up. Okay, Andy, so I'm going to focus on two states right now. Who's going to win Arizona, Andy? We have a Democratic lieutenant governor, I think, is the individual there, former veteran, in respects, or the firebrand Carrie Lake, who's tied herself to Trump on a lot of stuff, and she's been quite vocal and adamant about some of her statements over time. So, who do you think is going to win that Arizona seat, Andy?
Yeah. So the seat, formerly held by moderate Christian Sinema, who's not running for election, she was a very independent candidate, and that's what I love about the West and the Mountain States is they're remarkably independent. I mean, they have their pulls to the left and right, but they do what they want out there. And I think Carrie Lake, she has been batshit crazy for a long time, and she's so divisive. I don't think Arizona wants her. to be their senator, and I think she's going to lose.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with that too. I just think at some point you just like end the crazy and like
Yeah,
we don't need that here
yeah.
and hopefully that'll shut her up. Most likely it won't. All right, so Andy, that's okay. So that's the first question. The second question is who wins Montana? There's the incumbent Democrat who Montana's been largely GOP for many years, right?
Yeah.
But there was a special session, Democrat won. He's fighting for Montanans against a first-time GOP nominee who happens, he's a former Navy SEAL. I don't know if that qualifies you better than just a regular corpsman or sailor or whatever, but he was a former Navy SEAL who is not a homegrown Montanan. He came in, and I think that's been what's fighting. The a lot of it is, are we keeping Montana for Montanans? Or are we keeping it for people who come in, all these wealthy people coming in and buying land? So, any thoughts on who's going to win that one, Democrat or GOP there?
Yes, so I've been watching this closely, but as I looked at it, I think Montana will stay Republican. I just think
Yeah.
that's kind of where they are. I don't see that. I think it's going to happen.
Okay, so with that, Andy, who do you think's gonna like at the end of the day, who's gonna retain control of the Senate?
So I think at the end of the day, and look, this all goes back to the time of the White House discussion. And I want to say, like, my ideal would be divided government, Dave. I would
Yeah.
like to see a different White House, Congress, and different parties. But I think the Democrats will take the Senate.
Oh, you do think the
I
Democrats are
do.
gonna take the Senate?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
I do.
It'll be interesting. I think we're gonna have a split, Andy. I think we're gonna go 50-50. And so then we're gonna have the whoever wins the presidency is gonna have that control. And so I can't recall what happens when is there a majority leader at that time or
Yeah.
Senate?
Yes, yeah. There's like, well, I mean, the majority, like Mitch McConnell, sat in that role for seemingly centuries. Yeah, so there'll be a Senate majority leader, and it'll go to the party that has the most folks in the Senate,
Yeah, but if it's
or the
50-50,
plus one. Yeah,
plus
it'll
one,
go
the
to
vice president. Okay.
yeah.
See, there we go. We're giving civics lessons today, Andy. So good
Hopefully
stuff.
accurate ones. Hopefully I'm not misspeaking, but yes.
Okay. All right, Andy, we're going to go to the House then. To control the House, you must have at least 218 of the 435 seats filled. Republicans right now are favored to win 213. Democrats are favored to win 214. Eight are toss-ups, Andy. Um, at the end of the day here, where do you think, sorry, the votes are going to lie? Is it going to be Democrats or Republicans who have control of the House?
Yeah, so like with the Senate, I think it's going to be a razor thin margin. I don't think either party will take, either house in like a significant number. But again, like while I prefer divided government, I think Democrats are going to sneak out a slight edge and give Hakeem Jeffries the speakership. They think Democrats will win the House.
Yeah, this is where I do think that I agree. I think the I do agree. I think the Democrats are going to win the House as well, Andy. So I think that's going to be. I think there's a lot of races that the Democrats have. They lost some races in 2020 that I think were not typically races that they normally lose or 2022 and so on. So I think they're targeting this. I hate the House of Representatives cycle.
Yeah,
Every 2 years, everybody's up. So basically you get elected and then you start campaigning again. Well, some districts you don't need to campaign because you're not up against anybody
yeah,
of value. But I just wish they would go to 4 years, set term limits at 24 years for House and senators,
yeah.
and just be done with that. So, um,
I agree on that. I'm all for terms. I like it to be even shorter, to be honest, than that. And I agree, the 4 year term is right. I mean, the world of the 1800s has changed, which makes some minor adjustments to respect the reality we're in today. And the 2 year term just doesn't suffice anymore. Like it doesn't work. So I agree, 4 years would be right.
yeah, I think the founder and fathers in the early years were probably expecting that the candidates would actually or the politicians actually govern
Yeah,
and as opposed to doing what the shit they're doing today. So,
agree.
Okay, Andy, let's go to a couple of the key topics or key issues here. We'll start with abortion. There are constitutional amendments to expand or protect abortion access in on the ballot in 10 states.
Yeah.
Just simple question, are a majority of those going to pass, Andy?
Yes, they
Yeah.
will. I mean, following the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, while legislatures have acted one way, when given to the people to vote on the topic, a pro-choice position has won, I think, every time, and that's not
Yeah.
going to change. Yeah, those bad measures will pass.
Okay, if I were a betting person, Andy, and I had like a lock bet, this would be my lock, Andy.
Yeah,
I think I would agree. Almost all of these are going to pass. I think all of these are going to pass.
yeah,
Okay, Andy, immigration. So, there's only one immigration, I guess, like statewide bill that's going to be on there.
yeah.
It's in Arizona, and it's somewhat controversial. It's interesting. It's a immigration policy on the ballot that would increase the use of a federal database to check employment eligibility
Yeah.
and give state and local government agencies the authority to detain and deport undocumented border crossers, despite court rulings that have established that the power belongs to the federal government. So this is going to give that power to the state level. Papers, Please comes to mind. And so, Andy, thoughts, will this pass in Arizona?
I think it will pass in Arizona.
Yeah.
It's a border state. I think, Trump has successfully moved this country into a much more restrictive immigration position. Like things haven't changed that much on the ground in reality, but Americans are much more concerned about immigration than they have been in recent history. So I think when put on the ballot, especially on a border state, I think there's enough folks in the middle and a little bit on the left that this have concern now about immigration that wouldn't typically vote for more restrictive measures, but will this time around. So I think immigration restriction in Arizona will pass.
Yeah, I think this is again another one. This would be a softer lock for me, but I would still lock this one as passing as well. Okay, before we get to the final question, Andy, one little bonus one measure. This is about this is so stupid. This is how dumb we've like people are. There are states seeking to tighten further voting restrictions.
Yeah,
For example, Andy, there are 8 states that will have constitutional amendments
yeah,
that are designed to make it clear that only American citizens can vote in elections in those states.
yeah,
I can say North Carolina is one of those. I had to vote on this, Andy. Andy, the law is you cannot vote unless you're a citizen of the country.
yeah.
What the fuck are we doing here with these
It's
states?
it's the rhetoric. Right? I mean, same thing we see in Virginia, Dave, where we're purging folks off of our voter rolls. The Supreme Court ruled in favor of the action after it was challenged by a federal court. And you've got folks who've been here voting for 30 years that are now suddenly finding themselves ineligible to vote. And I'm not aware of it until they go to vote on election. Maybe I'm not eligible to vote. I don't even know. Like it's just nonsense. But I think it'll split. I think measures like that will split. I don't think there's you know massive support for restrictions like that. There's a lot of people that are fighting against it. But I think people are confused. That's one of the issues. People start walking, they're confused. Like, yeah, I don't want to, non-American citizens to vote. This seems like a good thing. People vote for it, and some people just go in there and oppose it just second they see it. So I think we're going to be all over the place, and I think the measures will split around the country.
Yeah, I will tell you, my wife is doing a mail-in ballot, and she looked at this and was like, "Wait a second, I'm confused. What is
Yeah,
this?" And she thought it
exactly.
was like she's like, "This is a trick by the Republicans to put this on here. Like this is just a joke." So, all right, Andy, the moment of truth now. Here we go.
Yeah,
You wrote on it, you said, or you wrote on Kamala a little
yeah,
bit this weekend. Who is going to win the presidency when all is said and done, whether
yeah.
that's Wednesday morning, Tuesday night, next week? Who's going to win, Andy?
Yeah, so Dave, I was really thinking about it. I was really, and I try really careful not to wish cast, right? I try to say, okay, not what I like to see, but really as I look at it, what is going to happen here, and I'm changing what I thought before as I dug into it. I think we're going to know on Tuesday night a winner. I think Kamala Harris will be the winner. I think she's going to win like pretty handedly, to be honest. And so as I dug into it, I was looking at the numbers. If you look at the seven battleground states, and I lay this out in the piece I wrote, like women are a bigger block of voters in all of those states, every one of them. And women tend to vote better than men. And I think women are going to come out and vote strongly in favor of Kamala Harris. I think that's going to drive the Democrats doing really well on those Senate and House seats where maybe they wouldn't have necessarily won on sort of a typical election cycle. I think a lot of women are going to come in and vote straight blue, and they're going to push Democrats to do really well. I think Kamala Harris will definitely win the popular vote. Democrats have won the popular vote, Dave, since Barack Obama's first term in office. The last Republican was George W. Bush beating John Kerry right in the middle of the war on terror and everything that went with it. So Democrats will win by millions the popular vote, and they can win and still lose the electoral vote, but she won't. If you look at it right now, there's a poll drove Donald Trump crazy over the weekend in Des Moines that says that Democrats will win, Kamala Harris will win, leapfrogging Donald Trump. Now I don't know if that's going to hold up or not, but they've got her winning Iowa by 3 percentage points because of women voters, and I think that's possible, and it's something we could see around the country because women are going to come out and vote. And so even if you leave Iowa with Donald Trump, if the battlegrounds break to Kamala Harris, and I think they will, because they're also razor thin, that push of women voters to go Harris, I think is going to win. I think Dave's going to win all of the states, all the battleground states. I think she's going to win the electoral vote by a significant amount, and I think we're going to have a clear winner on Tuesday night. I think Donald Trump will also declare himself the winner, right? But I think like the data coming in will show, I think, a clear Kamala Harris winner. I think Kamala Harris will be the 47th president of the United States on the legs of women who are going to be the difference maker in this election.
Yeah, I actually, the more you start reading some of the undertones, like Pennsylvania is a key state. I don't think she's going to lose the northern states at all,
Yeah,
but Pennsylvania is a key state, and you can already see them with the election fraud claims coming out. Like Trump is already talking about election fraud in Pennsylvania.
yeah,
That's telling me that they're concerned that they're going to lose the state. And so if she wins just those four, that blue wall, and then she wins that one vote from Nebraska, that's 270 right there. And
yeah.
then she's got North Carolina, Georgia, and the other couple. I I don't think she wins all seven of those, Andy, but I do think she wins the majority of them, and I do think that she's going to win the election as well. I do think it's the numbers are. I this is one of those elections where everyone thinks it's going to be close and it's not. It's just
Yeah.
at the end of the day. That's again. Hopefully that's how it plays out. We've been pretty adamant about our thoughts here. So, um,
I should caveat, Dave. I should say though, like I always vote for losers in presidential elections. Like just as a so fair warning, Kamala Harris and those supporting Kamala Harris, I said I'm going to vote that way this time around. The last the one I cannot remember how I voted for Barack Obama. Right? I honestly I went back and I was like, who did I vote for? With Barack Obama? And I don't know. I don't know if I voted for him or his opponents or the third party. Like, I honestly cannot recall what I did for both his terms. I cannot. But aside from that, the last time I voted for a winner in presidential election, Dave, was my greatest regret in 2000. I voted for George W. Bush. So I do not have a good track record in my voting and the winner of the presidential election, but I think I'm right in 2024.
But to be clear, Andy, in 2020, you didn't vote for Trump, but you also didn't vote for Biden, right? I
That's
mean,
right.
like,
My
let's
last three
be
election
very,
cycles, yeah. I
you
voted for
just
Gary
voted,
Johnson twice, and I voted for Joe
right.
Jorgensen last time around. Yeah, so I knew I was losing in those three. And I'd vote for Gary Johnson again today if given the opportunity. Dave, I like Gary Johnson, but yeah, setting that aside, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I just want to make it very clear, like you didn't vote for Trump. I mean, so is
I have never voted for Donald John Trump for president of the United States.
that what J stands for?
Yeah,
Oh, geez.
yeah. I'm not gonna
Uh,
think of a lot of other things it might stand for, but it stands for John.
I hope hopefully it's just go away after this, but it
Yeah,
probably won't be. But
yeah.
um, all right, I did vote for. I think I've said this before. I did vote for him in 2016. I thought he was going to be different, and it just didn't. Never worked out. All right, Andy, that's I knew that was going to go long, but that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Andy, I wrote up an election card bingo
Yeah.
uh for tonight. Like what are the things that I'm going to hear said? I'm quick I'm wondering how quick I'm going to get to bingo. But we'll see.
I
So
think that should be fun. That should be fun. It's going to be interesting. Is there a place you watch election results come in on?
no, I'll probably watch CNN because
Yeah.
I won't watch Fox and I won't watch MSNBC. I'll probably watch CNN until I get tired of them. Then I'll probably just go to like ABC or NBC.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
All right.
we'll see.
C-SPAN's always good because it's so boring typically that it's always good, I think. And Nick Gillespie of Reason Magazine is hosting a little election night coverage. I might watch that some too. Generally, Nick's pretty on point, so that might be fun to
I,
watch.
I wish we could go live or something, Andy. That'd be kind of fun.
I
So
mean, we would be calling it. We'd be entertaining. But hey, good luck to you and America. Next time we speak, Dave, God only knows what the hell we'll be
yeah,
talking about. Well,
we'll,
God only knows.
we will see. We will see. We'll wake up Wednesday morning, get ready to do the pod, and we may know or we may not know. So
Yeah,
hopefully we'll see.
yeah.
So. All right, Andy, with that, I'll catch up with you Wednesday. Hopefully we still have like riots haven't broken out. So